Today I'm going to review for you Evil in Me by Brom. This is a book that I was really interested in, partly because of the premise, and partly because I've been wanting to read something by Brom for a very long time. And I ended up reading it as an audiobook because I had been told that there was actually a song that's really central to the book, and there's an actual performance of the song within the audiobook, which I thought was a really cool idea. And certainly if you've seen any of my own posts, I do like to kind of play around with music and books and my own books as well. So I was intrigued by that, and I thought, well, let's give this a go. So what did I end up thinking? First, I'll say I do think my expectations were a little big for this one, partly because I've heard about how great Brom's books are, and I've been wanting to read Slewfoot and a few other ones for a while now, just because I've heard so many good things. So I do think I was maybe a little disappointed in that regard. I think, the basic premise of this book is that you have Ruby, who is living in the South. Her father passed away. She has a stepfather and a stepbrother who are pains, and her mom seems to be ignoring her. Her best friend Tina has moved away and has started the band that they've talked about starting all the time before she left. So she's kind of in a weird place. The other thing is she's on essentially parole, doing community service, and she's having trouble with that as well, when she stumbles upon a cursed ring. Evil in Me kind of has some fun with the punk scene and the satanic panic in the 80s. This is a period book, and it doesn't rely on that too much. It's not, nostalgia heavy, but there are moments there, and it's certainly set within that time frame, which was fun to read. And I think overall, that's sort of my impression of the book. I had fun reading it. It just didn't make much of an impact. I liked Ruby well enough as a character, but she's really the only character I connected with in any detail. The other thing too is it takes a long time to get Ruby to a place where she's in the band, which is kind of what I thought the majority of the book was going to be about. But it's really only maybe the last third, and that might be being generous, with how much time you actually spend with that setup, which to me sounded the most fun. A lot of time is spent with Ruby just being stuck in her life with these various people who don't understand her, and just having a bad time. And that just seems to go on for a long time. And this sort of intermixed with Lord Shieldbath calling out to the entity that is inside Ruby, Beale, and making these entreaties like, Beale. I mean, it became a little repetitive, to be honest, until it finally got to the point where they formed the band. The main protagonist, other than sort of Lord Shieldbath, is a man named Dick, or Richard, who is basically a serial unaliver. And I just didn't find him very interesting. In fact, one of the points of the book that I got kind of irritated at is he was talking about how he's an atheist, and that's the reason why he was committing these crimes, because if he had some sort of religion, he probably wouldn't have done it. And my eyes are rolling back in my head. But obviously, I don't think necessarily because he thinks that the author is saying that, but it just was like, I don't know. There was nothing about him that I found particularly interesting. I feel like Brom does a decent job of not necessarily going exactly where you think the story will go, but close enough that it just sort of, overall, I just wasn't super compelled by the book. And so maybe for my first Brom reading experience, it wasn't the strongest book to start with. So I definitely want to read something else, because I do like his writing style, and I liked, what he was doing with a lot of it. It's just the book at the end of the day, I don't think I'll really remember it in 6 months.